It is bittersweet to be a Massachusetts sports fan right now. I mean, if you're a combat sports fan like myself, it's sweet right now. But if you're not into combat sports and you're in Massachusetts right now, yeah, the Pats got their asses whooped. And I'm a huge Patriots fan. We had a great season, a good start, a strong middle season, and then we just couldn't keep it together towards the end of the season. It sucks. But if, again, you're a combat sports fan like myself, then Calvin Kattar, the underdog, came out and put Giga Chikadze on his ass, essentially. He put him to work. It was an interesting fight. That fight was interesting. If you guys watched my previous video, you guys know I did a before the war for this fight, analyzing these two guys. And Calvin Kattar came off of one of his biggest losses of his career. Last year, around the same exact time, I want to say he fought Max Holloway back in January. But it could have been February as well. But the point being is, he came off of one of his biggest losses in his entire career and came back a year later and put on one of his best performances and most intelligent performances in his entire career as well. He was the underdog here. Calvin was not supposed to win this fight on paper, but Calvin came up with him and his team came up with a brilliant game plan, and they stuck to it. You could see in the beginning of the fight that Calvin was kind of feeling out Giga. He was seeing if Giga was throwing power already. He was seeing if he could handle that power, and he took it well. And Giga made a mistake in terms of a high head kick in which missed Calvin and slipped. And when he was turning around to get up, Calvin jumped on him like a wild animal and took him down with a beautiful takedown from the back and wrestled him the rest of the first round. Giga was only winning the first maybe minute or two of the first round. And then when Calvin got him on the ground and damn near, he did something most people don't even do in his division, which was like the Von Flue choke. That choke specifically, the way it works is that the bigger weight you are, the more effective it is. So you usually don't see it in divisions in featherweight, or you'll see more effective chokes being the rear naked choke or the neck crank. Those are the more effective chokes. But to see him attempt that and it freaked Giga out. Giga definitely had a panicked moment. And if you know anything about fighting, if a fighter has a panic moment, their adrenaline shoots all the way up. And most of the time, like 90% of the time, no matter how good their cardio is, when that adrenaline shoots them up to try to protect them and get them in, they have an immediate adrenaline dump and their gas tank is gone. It's gone, and it shows in that fight. It shows. And the other thing I mentioned on my before the war was that Calvin's biggest opportunity to beat Giga, and the way Giga would beat Calvin, is if Giga stayed the distance and stayed out of Calvin's boxing range and continued to pick him apart from the outside and moving. Calvin needed to get inside of the boxing range and especially use that dirty boxing to then get Giga out of his comfort zone, because Giga's biggest offense is his kick, especially his left kick. Giga's a back-footed fighter. He fights on the back foot until he gets you where he wants you, and then he starts to press forward, and that's when he's able to either TKO you, KO you, or get you on the ground and pound you until the fight's over. Giga could not do that because he didn't have the cardio anymore after the first round. So being on the back foot the entire time, Calvin constantly pressuring, it only got Giga more and more tired, reduced his power and reduced his ability to do anything in the entirety of the fight. So to see Calvin come in and just land these beautiful jabs. First off, the jab was the number one punch for Calvin. It screwed up all the momentum for Giga. He couldn't get a rhythm down. The other thing that Giga was not comfortable with was because he was exhausted, because he was constantly on the back foot, and then Calvin pressing forward, Giga got pressed against the fence a lot, and Giga does not like his back against the fence. So when Calvin was able to cover that distance and Giga got cut off by the fence to the back, Calvin would come in, bam, bam, punches, and then land these beautiful angled elbows when Giga would try to get the head movement to get out of the line of fire for the punches. And if you know anything about head movement, the way you angle it in boxing, it's effective against a punch. But the way elbows come in as an angle, and because they're such a short weapon, if you expect it to be a punch and you slip the punch and then you get caught with the elbow, that's you're gonna get cut. And you could see it all over Giga's face. He was getting sliced up. Calvin was boxing him, dirty boxing him, landing beautiful short elbows and just keeping Giga in like punch, not even just punching range, but just like even considering it clinching or knee range and elbow range. That's where it was most effective. Kattar threw in a bunch of knees into that. And then he landed some beautiful, beautiful elbows that just knocked it out of the park and just cut up Giga's face so much. Congrats to Calvin Kattar. The Pats lost that day, but Calvin Kattar put on a show for New England. It was a fantastic night. And now what's next for Kattar? What do we do for Kattar now? He lost to Max Holloway, who is still people consider the best featherweight on the planet, even though he's not the champion. They're considering him the best. They still consider him the best featherweight on the planet. I say we set West Coast versus East Coast. It's being talked about all over Combat Sports Twitter and Combat Sports News. It should be Calvin Kattar versus Brian Ortega, and if Brian Ortega loses to Calvin Kattar should get a title shot, in my opinion. They both have a very similar dynamic in which Calvin came off of a loss to Max, came back with a very strong win against a fighter he shouldn't have beaten. Same thing for Brian Ortega. Brian Ortega came off of a huge loss to Max, then came back, fought Korean Zombie, Chung Sung Jun, and should not have won that fight, but came in and put on a hell of a performance, and he got a title shot after that. So I think the same thing should happen here. I think if you set up Brian Ortega against Calvin Kattar, that should be the fight that's happening, and if Kattar wins, he should without a doubt be getting a title shot against whoever is champion when this whole situation is happening. Currently, right now, they've confirmed Korean Zombie is getting a title shot against Alexander Volkanovski, and I approve of that. I think that's a great fight, and I think I said it on my Before the War. It's a new face in the division because so far Volkanovski has only fought essentially Max Holloway and Brian Ortega. That's it. Those are the only two guys he's fought, and he's had 3 title defenses. Well, 2 title defenses, and he won the title off of Max's title defense against Volkanovski. Hopefully Max gets better. Max is still on injury. Excuse me, I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now. I don't have a script for when I do these aftermath events and these reaction fights. I'm actually recording on Martin Luther King Day. I didn't get a chance to record on Saturday night after the fights. It was a hectic night after the Pats loss, but yeah, this will be very minimal in terms of editing, so there won't be much editing. So this is pretty raw right now, but I do like what's going on. Max is out. Hopefully he does get a little bit better in time for an attempt at a title shot. I don't know. I would like to see Kattar make a second shot at Max. I wonder how he would fare a second time, how he would take a different approach. I don't think he should fight Yair. Yair's still just coming off of that fight, but I think stylistically right now the most fun fight it would be Brian Ortega versus Calvin Kattar, West Coast versus East Coast. I really like that. I really like that fight. I think that'd be a great opportunity, and I think the winner of that should get an opportunity at the belt depending on who the champion is. But one thing I will say, I think both of these guys should have a second shot at Max. Both Brian Ortega and Calvin Kattar, I think they should have a second shot at Max. But that's it. That's the aftermath, guys. Next week or during this week, we'll be doing a Before the War for the Ciryl Gane fight versus Francis Ngannou. What number UFC event is that? I don't even remember the number of the UFC event. Let me look real quick. UFC 270. That's the UFC event that's happening this weekend that we'll be doing a Before the War for, and I'm excited to do that. So yeah, we're gonna get into that. Oh yeah, Davidson Figueiredo is also fighting Brandon Moreno that fight as well as the undercard. I mean, as the co-main event. Excuse me. So that'll be a good one too. But yeah. We're going to be doing it Before the War. I'm also working on, because I've only been doing MMA and boxing on the channel so far, I'm working on a kickboxing Muay Thai video for you guys as well. So that'll be coming out probably before the end of the week as well. All right. Thank you guys for listening to this episode of Finish 'Em, the aftermath, in which we talked about what happened this past weekend. Calvin Kattar put on a show. Congratulations, Calvin Kattar. We needed a win from Massachusetts this weekend, and I'm glad it was you, and I'm glad you pulled that upset off. I should have put some money down on that fight. it is what it is. But we will catch you guys on the next one. Follow us on our social media. I'll have links down below. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, all that lovely stuff. If you're a fan of combat sports, or if you are a casual and you're curious about combat sports, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. My name is Danny. I am the host of this channel, and we will see you guys on the next one. Adios.